I think there is an opportunity here to be, a tech hub, like you say. We've got some unbelievable companies here that have came from Sydney that are worldwide success stories. Atlassian, obviously Canva, obviously safety culture, Afterpay, Zip Money. There's lots and lots, which is amazing. We just need more of that, more exposure to them. Government will come into it in terms of driving it. And I think they're trying to. They're certainly trying to do a lot more. COVID has probably impacted a lot more than what we'd have liked in terms of being able to recruit talent from around the world, because that's what people were doing before. There's obviously, there's lots of good product, good tech people here in Sydney, and there's maybe just not enough to go around all the time. So that's why companies like to look overseas. And again, if the more you do that, then the more exposure you get to the world, and then it will hopefully drive that becoming a tech hub here.
What is up, everyone? This is Ronnie, your host of the Ronnie Asani Show. My number one goal in this show is to bring you some of the most amazing and accomplished individuals in the business world to share with you some real, raw, and authentic business insights. We sit down and talk in a casual setting, nothing too serious, yet we unpack some of the most incredible ideas, concepts, and best practices. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Oh, and don't forget to share the love. Like, share, and subscribe. Gracias, amigos. What is up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Ronnie Asani's Show. And joining me today is Gavin Rae. And we're going to be talking about all things product design. A little bit about Gavin. He is the co-founder and managing director at Product Rocket. Show everyone the cool branding. Cool stuff. Which is a consulting company in digital product management and product design. One of the very interesting things about Gavin is he is a UEFA, a licensed football coach. For all the football fans, you know what that is. He has extensive knowledge about coaching methods that he's gotten through a successful coaching career. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. Gavin, without further ado, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. So we've connected a couple of weeks back, and I found that your what you've been doing and what you guys do at Product Rock is really, really interesting. So I kind of wanted to go into product design, whether it's for someone who's starting out, maybe a startup or a SaaS company or any other type of business. We can go through what product design is, best practices, maybe get some insights from you about product design, specifically digital product design. And then we'll go into a few other things. Cool. All right. So what kind of got you into product design?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm from a very sort of diverse background. Played sports for about 20 years, leaving school, and then emigrated to Australia with my family and got into tech, really. So a really big pivot from sport. And I've been working in tech since. And within that, really had a connection with product about a couple of years into it, and I've been doing that since. So, really all product management, product design is something that I'm really passionate about, and our business is basically that. We help companies improve their products with our sort of experience and expertise as a consultancy, and that can be startups to large enterprises, just depending on where they are with their product life cycle, really. And it's super cool. It's a great community to be in. I really enjoy it, and there's huge opportunities within it as well in terms of improving product in Australia.
Do you find working on products for startups more or less challenging than enterprise companies?
That's a good question. It really just depends on. Normally for us, our consultants, it's normally their understanding. The client's understanding of product. So you might have a really large enterprise company, but their understanding of product's really good, which will make it easier, even though it's maybe an older product. But they're sort of further down the line in terms of their knowledge. Whereas a startup, sometimes it's normally taking products to market for them and really uplifting the maturity around product. So it just depends. It really depends. And I think with all product, I think that's probably one of the biggest sayings you'll hear a lot is it depends, because it depends where they are, depends where the company is, So
like, this is product design. Anything you ask, the answer is it depends.
that's it. Yeah, it really is. All the clients that we work with, they kind of ask, how would you help us to do X, and we say, well, it depends, because we haven't seen in behind the curtain, in the actual company, and where their tech capability, the feasibility, their understanding, and where it's at the moment. So it does really depend. I know that's quite general, but it does.
And I guess with startups or companies that are still starting out, you have the advantage of being more open to different ways of going about a specific feature or the entire product. It's more agile. They give you more room sometimes to come up with things that they may not have wanted to or even thought about. Whereas enterprise, it might be very specific, or this is what we want, and we want you to help us deliver it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think also with some of the larger enterprises, there's a lot of compliance comes into it, and security regulation, so that you've got to work around them. So they can't be as agile as startups. But yeah, the startups, you can sort of shape their future with them, depending on how much knowledge they've got of product. And most startup people working in tech will have a good idea of product and where they want to get to, and sometimes it's just us adding extra capacity to that, and to try to get them there quicker.
Yep.
But yeah, it varies in terms of maturity as well.
There's an old debate about product and marketing, which is, and in my opinion, both of them are important, but obviously you're a product person, you're a product guy, so you look at things from a product perspective, and I'm interested to get your perspective on how important is a product for marketing, and how important is marketing for product, and how do they play together, and when can a product really hold back marketing and vice versa?
Yeah, no, it's a really good question, and it is something you sort of come up against from time to time. I think the biggest thing for product management, product people, is finding the product market fit before building it. So the marketing is really important once it's built, but then it'd be silly to build a product if nobody's going to buy it.
Absolutely.
So you have to sort of do the research first for the product, then work in conjunction with the marketing teams and the sales teams to make sure that it's going to be bought by the customer. So it's a process, and all companies do it different. They really do. And some have more challenges than others, but in theory, they should all be working together at the same time.
Yep. If you were to start let's say, for example, a SaaS startup, how would you go about that?
I think most of the companies are born from an idea of, trying to solve a problem. And if you feel strongly enough that a product problem or a problem, you can solve it with a product, and you've done enough research to sort of validate that assumption and hypothesis, then you can start to build. And if you're confident, and as long as you feel that people will buy it, and it is something that people need a solution for. Because if you build something that might solve something for 1 or 10 people, it's not scalable. But you have to, if it's going to solve a problem for a big enough landscape, then you've got an idea and you've got a startup. It's that simple. It sounds that simple. It's not obviously that simple, but that's what all the best startups have came from.
On that note, I was reading a long time ago the story of Jack Ma, founder of Alibaba. And the story goes, in a nutshell, that he pitched it to 20 friends. And then 19 of them ignored him or said, no, it's not going to work. The story, the idea of Alibaba, that is. And only one person said, what do you got to lose? And then he was like, okay, you're right. What do I have to lose? And that's how it started. Yeah, I mean, so sometimes research is not in. We're not saying don't do research, because obviously it's important to understand that is, especially with niche products.
Yeah.
Alibaba is a marketplace, so that's a whole different ball game. But sometimes if your gut feeling tells you it's going to work.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely, you know, you take that instance and Jack Ma, and obviously his idea for a product solution or a product to solve a problem that he felt was there, his gut feel was enough to drive him on and become obviously super successful and fair play. But maybe he's asking the wrong people. You know, if that was going to solve, you know, it might be a totally different demographic here that you're actually asking, that they don't need that marketplace. And that's why 19 said no out of 20. But, you know, if you do enough research, I think you would get enough validation from that it was needed.
I think he just had 2019 bad friends.
Maybe.
And then another example is if you look at Elon Musk.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't really like coming up with an electric car when back then no one really cared about it, and coming up with Neuralink, which is a company that merges, you know, AI with the human brain. If you had done research, I'd probably argue that you wouldn't find a lot of people saying, yeah, there is a demand for it, you know? So that's, but that's him. So
I think with him though, I think it's more the future thinking. You know, the ability to see what's coming down the line in the future. I think that's his, you know, his sort of expert factor that has made him so successful. Is he can sort of see what's coming, and there's, you know, there's not many people that can do that to that extent.
Do you think he's a time traveler?
Maybe, yeah, maybe. You know, what he's done is incredible, but you know, he's able to, you know, deliver on what he says, things in the future, but people don't even think they will need, and that is a special gift.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. I'm kind of curious if you have any specific digital products that you're a big fan of.
Yeah, I love Spotify. You know, everyone mentions it, but I just love the way, you know, the in the back end, the machine learning and the AI in terms of delivering playlists and songs to you that it sort of knows you'll like. I think that's super cool. It's super easy to use. You know, there's no surprises. It's obviously one of the biggest products in the world. And obviously being a huge music fan, it's perfect for me.
Now, Spotify, you spot on, especially with them being able to know what music you like. There's not one time Spotify, and they don't pay me to say this, but there's not one time Spotify recommended a song that wasn't good enough for me to listen. And a lot of the songs they recommend, I end up liking and favoriting and going back to. It's crazy how they know that. And I'd love to know the tech, you know, the AI, the algorithms behind, because, you know, if you look at, for example, YouTube is really also very good at it, knowing what, but it's, in my opinion, it's not as good as, and perhaps they have more data on the type of videos that you'd like to see. So, for example, I started getting into watching bladesmiths, you know, forging blades and stuff like that recently over the last couple of months. And all of a sudden, every time I go to YouTube, there's a new video about someone forging a new blade or a sword or all that stuff. It's kind of easy to know that, you know? You don't need a very, very sophisticated algorithm to know that. But to know what a song would be that someone would really like, that's next level.
Yeah, it is the algorithms. Excuse me, like you say, it's crazy. But Spotify will know, you know, when you listen to a song fully, you listen to it halfway, you listen to it or 10 seconds, you fast forward it. That will not come around in your playlist the next time, because, you know, in the random playlist, because it knows what ones you listen to and you leave on playing rather than fast forwarding. Yeah. So it will get rid of the ones you fast forward. Won't play them as much and play the ones that you listen to.
Yeah. What do you think of them trying to go into the video space? I'm not sure if you're a podcast person, or you follow any podcasters. Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
He moved. That was a major hit in the competition. Them trying to break into that market. Do you think they've done a good job, or they've gotten there in terms of dominating that space?
I think they do what they do very well, and I think, you know, with the Joe Rogan thing, that's a big play. You know, it's listen, we're here. We're here. We're going to try and take over the podcast space as well. So I think it's a sort of unique sort of idea and a unique sort of way they went about it. And it's such a behemoth anyway that I think it's got every chance of success.
Yeah. I personally think YouTube is still, from a user experience, a little bit better in that space because after he went to Spotify, I still wanna. It didn't take. I haven't changed much of my video watching time from YouTube, and I'm a huge Joe Rogan fan.
Yeah,
and it's just something about the layout / structure / the experience. It just makes me wanna, when I watch a podcast, to watch on YouTube. I don't know why.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't watch any podcasts.
You just listen?
I only listen, yeah. So I do a lot, when I'm commuting, just get the podcasts on, and I don't really sit down and watch many podcasts at all.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I suppose it's your target market and what you actually like,
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I never listen.
Yeah, wow.
I'm a visual person. I need to see two people talking, interacting, body language to
It's
kind of.
interesting, isn't it? That's just different user personas. That's exactly what it is. Some people like to listen, some people like to watch. It's
interesting. Cool. All right. Anything else? Any other favorite product besides Spotify? What do you think of Uber Eats?
Yeah, very good. And Uber, obviously.
In general.
Yeah, in general, just like very, market leading. They've refreshed the UI and UX many times, but the algorithms again in the back end are pretty spot on. I'm a big Instagram fan. I'm not as huge on Facebook because I just don't think I have the time just to sit down and go through all the sort of the words. I'd rather just look at pictures, so it's easier for me.
Yeah.
Big fan of Instagram in terms of keeping up with people and friends.
It's interesting how Facebook / Instagram were able to ramp up the product features and not let smaller competitors take on. TikTok is still out there, still doing really well, and I think it's going to be there for the long term.
Yeah.
But Instagram was able to quickly, and that's the other important thing when it comes to product development. You need to be very fast to market.
Definitely.
Because other competitors and companies will come up with things. If you're not quick to market, you can find yourself out of business pretty soon.
Definitely. And there's a lot of competition out there. Sometimes with certain products there's enough to go around for everyone, but certainly sometimes you really need to be first to market or else you're nothing basically. I think that's what Facebook done really well. Obviously get there and just absolutely dominated. And then Instagram obviously came on and Facebook obviously took them as well. But yeah, I think depending on the product, you have to be first to market, but I think with a lot of products there is enough to go around.
Yep. Do you have any thoughts on the consolidation of WhatsApp, Instagram? There's a couple other, I think, platforms. They all, put them together. But I think the biggest thing was integrating WhatsApp messages, Instagram messages, and Facebook Messenger messages all together, especially for business as well.
Yeah, I mean, from Facebook's point of view, it's a masterstroke, what they've done because they can. They've just come along and just bought the bigger companies, but I'm not so much a fan of them owning all of them.
From a user / privacy,
listen, I love Facebook and what they've done in terms of the product, but I'm not a massive Facebook user.
Yeah.
So, I obviously use WhatsApp, love it, Instagram, love it. So it's not really affected me because I don't have Facebook as much. But I think if you were a big Facebook fan and then they're buying up all these companies just to sort of dominate the market and get rid of competitors, I'm not really sure particularly like that play, but I understand it.
Yep. It
doesn't really affect me because I don't really use Facebook as much.
Perhaps this is a very tech heavy question, but do you think that consolidation from a software development standpoint was a very tough thing to do? Was it a challenge, or do you think it was like they had the infrastructure ready for something like that?
I think it would still have been a challenge just to amalgamate them all. I think companies at that scale, though, will have the infrastructure to be able to do it. It would definitely have been a challenge to get them all together, though, for sure. I mean, there's a lot, obviously, goes on behind the scenes to get that working seamlessly, but especially the Messenger one and across the three platforms, that would have been tough. But they've obviously got best engineers, best designers, best PMs in the world. So
cool. Maybe we can go through a little bit about best practices. So if I'm creating a new product right now, what are the top 2 or 3 things that you think I should know and be mindful of as I'm developing or designing a product?
I think, one of the major things, and it's crazy that some companies still don't do this as much as what they should, but speaking to the customers, there's not enough customer research, customer data, and really researching that product needed. That's big. Obviously, feasibility. You might have an idea that's amazing, but if the engineers can't build it, then it's going to be very difficult. To get it to market. That's probably the two main things. Is the understanding of customer and market fit. Customer, market fit, and feasibility. Are really important.
Are there any specific ways when it comes to talking to customers that you think businesses should use or go about? Qualitative, quantitative. For example, in web and web design, there's a bunch of tools out there. I'm not sure if you probably know about them. Hotjar, for example, is a very famous platform or tool. Can give you all these heat maps and all that stuff, but also give you allow you to do some polls, so you can ask someone when they go to your site, did you find what you're looking for? Things like that. But that's, I guess, is not a very super sophisticated or advanced way of knowing everything you can from a customer perspective. Are there any tools or ways of research that you guys do or recommend? Or
I mean, there's numerous ways to do the customer research. We actually partner with a company called Full Story, which is similar to Hotjar, but it actually allows you to record sessions, and it's just sort of the next level on from Hotjar, we feel. I think qual and quant, obviously both very important, both sides. Looking at reviews online, focus groups. I think the biggest thing that companies really should do is, we call it Goob, get out the building. Is get out the building and speak to your customers. Go and really speak to them face to face. Watch them using your product. Let them tell you what they like, what they don't like, and just hear it from them directly. Get on sales calls, get on customer success calls, and see what the customer is complaining about, what part of the product's not working, all that stuff. There's so much research you can do.
And then, at what point do you guys come into the picture? Starting from the research phase, or a little bit further into the process?
Again, I don't want to sort of repeat it, but it depends, because it's where...
You should have seen that coming.
Because we work with companies, like I say, who have maybe got an existing legacy product, so it's an old product that they're trying to iterate on and improve. Or it might be, a startup who looking to bring something to market. It might be a specific feature set on a specific product. And it might be more product design based as opposed to product management based. Again, it depends on what the customer and the client's looking for, but it could be across, growth, optimization, data and metrics, product vision, product strategy. We help with all that stuff. So it really very varied. But I think that's why it's kind of exciting. Our consultants love getting out in the field and using their experience and, pulling their product toolkit into a client and helping them improve. And that's what we are. We're trying to uplift maturity around product in Sydney first, and then look Australia wide, and then obviously New Zealand as well. So there's lots of exciting times, down the line, and it's lots of really good product companies in Sydney. Lots of good product people, great community, and we just need to keep it going and keep lifting it.
Yep. What do you think Australia and Sydney and Melbourne need to do to be a tech hub similar to in America, like San Francisco and whatnot?
Yeah, that's a challenge. I think the biggest challenge for that is location. We're just so far from a lot of things.
Yeah.
But we do have, I think there is an opportunity here to be, a tech hub, like you say. We've got some unbelievable companies here that have came from Sydney that are worldwide success stories. Atlassian, obviously Canva, obviously safety culture, Afterpay, Zip Money. There's lots and lots, which is amazing. We just need more of that, more exposure to them. Government will come into it in terms of driving it, and I think they're trying to. They're certainly trying to do a lot more. COVID has probably impacted a lot more than what we'd have liked in terms of being able to recruit talent from around the world, because that's what people were doing before. There's obviously, there's lots of good tech people here in Sydney, and there's maybe just not enough to go around all the time. So that's why companies like to look overseas. And again, if the more you do that, then the more exposure you get to the world, and then it will hopefully drive that becoming a tech hub here. The more people know about it.
Yeah, awesome. Are there any misconceptions about product design or product development that you encounter or hear about that you think anyone should know about?
I think with the product design side, I think not a lot, sorry, that's maybe a bit harsh, but some companies think that they should be, the actual coding and the engineers. What product design is for us, and we focus more on user experience rather than UI. So we do both, but real focus on user experience. So actually how the product feels and the psychology behind that, as opposed to actually designing, jazzy screens. That's not so much what we do. We can help people to know how customers use their product and what it makes them feel like. And it's such an important thing for retention, for people to continue using your product. I mean, we spoke about it, Spotify and Instagram. I mean, their user experience is phenomenal, and there'll be a lot of research went into that. And it's the feeling behind it rather than the actual design, the engineering side of it. Is what we focus on.
Interesting. So, what are the sort of KPIs that you guys measure and look at? Is it like time spent on a platform or application? You mentioned feeling, so how do you measure that? And what are the other quantitative KPIs that you or KPIs in general that you look at to say, okay, this product is successful, this product has achieved what it should have?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And data is obviously, KPI metrics is very, very important for product. I think for us as a business, it's very hard it's quite subjective.
Don't say it depends.
No, I mean, I was just going to say it's subjective in terms of how you measure, because what we do, when we go on site, is to help deliver the product, but also coach, mentor, and uplift product maturity in the client. Now that's hard to measure, like you say, but when you start and when you finish, when you come out of the consulting agreement, we feel that the client, our customer, will have seen the value that we've added. But it is hard to measure in terms of exactly what you're doing unless there's a specific thing. So, for instance, with one of our clients, our mission was to improve acquisition of customers.
Yep.
And it was to only improve it by a very small percentage, but which resulted in a lot of $1 million worth, of revenue.
Yeah.
And we did that. So that one's easy. You can measure that because you've actually got an outcome. With some of the clients, it changes with product, especially. It changes like almost daily. You know, something will change, something will come up, or an issue will come up, and then so the company has to prioritize that, and then we help with that rather than the specific thing we were brought on to do. Right. So it really depends. But the most, you know, a lot of the metrics will be around retention, churn, acquisition. You know, that's the big things for product.
Yeah, these are the high level KPIs,
definitely,
of course. App installs, uninstalls, all 100%, that stuff.
Yeah. When the customer drops off, you know, you can do a lot of the research around that.
Interesting. Cool. Let's talk about football, shall we?
Yeah, why not?
Since you're passionate about it. Switch off from product design and development for a bit. Which team do you support? Do you have a few?
I do have a few. So I'm from Aberdeen in Scotland. They're my team, my small Aberdeen team.
Nice.
Who I supported as a kid and all the way through. And Sir Alex Ferguson was the manager at Aberdeen and went on to Manchester United. So I'm a Man United fan.
So Alex Ferguson, when I was a kid, I'm 34 now. So there was a time when I was a massive Man United fan, and obviously he was. How long was he coaching them? Like 20 years or something?
He was there for a long time, yeah.
A long time.
Yeah.
So I started following them when David Beckham, Andy Cole, Ryan Giggs, all these guys were playing, and it was incredible. It was amazing to see them play together. I kind of like stopped following them and became a Barcelona fan. So I was betrayed them. I'm kind of curious what, from being a coach, and being a coach, not just a football coach, but any sports coach, is an incredible job. It's not easy. It's very, very hard in my opinion, but it's an incredible job, and you learn a lot and you teach a lot. And I'm kind of curious if there's anything that you've taken from your coaching career and found or applied in business.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt. You know, I've came from, you know, I was a player, getting to work with really good managers, some good, some not so good, as happens. Yeah. And then, you know, retire from playing and then move into coaching, which is a big transition, but I think it's people. It's about managing people. And it's the same in business. Like, I run a small business, and I look after, you know, our consultants and make sure they're good and they're supported and they're motivated and excited. Yeah, definitely. If they've got issues, you know, you try and help them through that. And that's very similar to coaching football. Very, very similar. The people side of it is definitely very similar. Obviously, games on the weekend is very different to day-to-day in business, but there's lots of transitional skills that you come across both, for sure.
If you're a coach and your team is not doing well, you only got 30 minutes or 15 minutes, depending on how much time you got, to do something or say something or change a strategy. In business, sometimes it's as urgent or as important as it can be in, you know, if you had a team and you're losing 1-0 or whatever, and you had to turn things around. But I guess in business sometimes you have more time, you have more ways of going about things. Do you see any sort of parallel in between both of them? Or?
Yeah, I think you're right. You know, in football it's probably more condensed and intensified. It's like really quick. You've got to make decisions quick. But then it's a game, you know, whereas business, you know, it's your livelihood. So you've got to make sure. And I think you do get a bit longer, but you don't get that long, because if you mess it up for too long, then you're not going to have a business. Yeah, and it's really competitive in business as well. So I think it's in business, it's to make sure you're adding value to really, and to value your own people as well, and empower them. I think that's important. Well, it's important for us. That's what we do. You know, we hire senior people and sort of empower them to run their day to day and make it enjoyable for them. Because then we know that they will add good value to our clients because they've got that experience. And with players in football, it's really different because you might have some really experienced people, but you might have some, new younger kids coming through. So how you treat them are very different, in terms of your coaching style and your methods with them. So there is lots of parallels. I think you're probably right though. You do get probably a little bit longer in business as opposed to football. And with football, you can't have too many bad results or else you're gone basically. Yeah. And that's the nature of the game, and that's the way it is just now. And
you lose 3 times in a row, you're out.
That's
and I
it.
guess in business
Pressure's on
as well.
Yeah, no, exactly that. If you got bad feedback from a client 3 times in a row, then you're doing something wrong. So you need to fix that, or else your business is going to go under.
When you hire consultants or product specialists, what's the 2 most important things you look for or ask?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think soft skills for us is what we do in terms of being consultants and having that consultative approach. Soft skills is huge. It's huge because they need to go into maybe pressure situations with a client who have, time pressures or budget pressures, and there might be difficult stakeholders, and they have to hit the ground running and show that they're going to add value to the client quickly. So soft skills, and then just ideally for us is sort of varied domain experience. So I've worked in a few different domains, I've taken lots of different products to market, lots of different features. I've had the wins, I've had the losses, I've had just experience. They've been in digital product for a while, and they've really honed their craft, so that we trust them going to whatever client they're going to.
So I've got a it depends proof question.
Okay, cool.
Are you a property or real estate fan?
I am.
Do you go on realestate.com.au and domain?
I do.
Okay. What are your thoughts on both platforms, and what do you think one platform is better at than the other, if there is?
Yeah, I think they're both really good platforms, really good. In terms of getting to what you want. I wouldn't say I'm not on them all the time, but when I do use them, I think they're pretty well run. I wouldn't say I've got a preference out of either.
Cool. I was just wondering.
What are you saying? You saying you prefer one or the other?
It's if I was to go on either of the platforms on my mobile, probably I'll go with domain. I like the map features they have.
Yep.
I find it a lot more intuitive than realestate.com.au. Probably say web, they're pretty even. Okay. Yeah, similar experience.
Yeah, so maybe domain I've done the mobile product side better in your opinion.
I think so. Yeah,
with the features, and again that's a product manager taking that feature to market.
Yeah, it's a great feature. So you basically put in some of the filters.
Yep.
And then you can zoom in, zoom out on the map, and every time you change or you move the map around, all of a sudden all these pins start showing up to show you all the different properties or listings that fit within the criteria that you have.
Okay.
Realestate.com doesn't have that.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it's way much easier to kind of search, at least for me, that way.
Okay, and that's really cool. And again, they'll have done a lot of research behind that.
Probably.
And delivered it to market with a PM, using all their data, the data sets they've got. So, yeah, it's cool, and that's what's cool about product.
Yeah, cool. Well, Gavin, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. I personally learned so much, and I hope everyone watching or listening learned as well. And before we close off, was there anything else you wanted to share, or maybe if you can talk a little bit more about product Rocker, and there's anything you just want to kind of touch on?
Yeah, no, listen, it's been a pleasure speaking to you, and I've really enjoyed it and getting to chat product and a little bit of football as well, and obviously great. I think you'll tell, we're really passionate about product in Sydney and in Australia, and trying to uplift the maturity. We do coaching, we do product teaching, not teaching, but like product classes for clients, where we help them with their product. And
Really awesome.
yeah, so we've got lots of stuff that we do and we love, and as I say, I think it's only the beginning. I think there's so much opportunity within Australia to bring product uplift.
Anyone watching, if they want to get in touch, your website is productrocket.com.au.
.com, yeah.
And Product Rocket on LinkedIn.
Yep, Product Rocket on LinkedIn, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Cheers.